are back. We are live for the first time in a very long time here on AfreecaTV. Of course, I'm your host, Live VIP, and we're live with the Africa Champions Cup number 2. The AfreecaTV Champions Cup number 2, the Korean Qualifier. The first of many. And welcome, everyone. Again, we're not typically live on this channel. We're not typically live here on Africa. I think we've only had 2 broadcasts before this. We casted the very first Africa Champions Cup, and we also casted the GSL qualifiers as well. But we are in game. We have a banger of a series, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresvan, we have the American Terran player residing in the land of Korea, representing Macherino Esports. It is Future. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming. It is Solar. Every time. You love to see. So we have been casting a lot of Future recently. The reason for that is because Future is a newly acquired resident of the Korean land of Korea. He's recently gone to South Korea here to live, to improve at StarCraft, of course, with the likes of Estrella, with the likes of Scarlet and Juanito as well. So it's great to see Future not just being there in Korea and improving, but also competing in a lot of these online tournaments. He's been competing in KSL, in the ESL Open Cup Asias, and even here in these online qualifiers like GSL and even the Africa Champions Cup. So yeah, it's been really cool to see Future improve as well over a short period of time. I think he's been there for 3 weeks, just around 3 weeks, give or take a couple of days. And Future has been getting some really good results, but we'll see if he can go toe-to-toe with one of the best Zerg players in South Korea right now. Solar is no slouch. He is no pushover by any means. Oh boy, so it's going to be a bit of a tough ask here for Future. Meanwhile, he opens things up a little bit differently. He's been doing this a lot in ZvTs. We were lucky enough to cast Future a couple of days ago. I believe it was Future versus Ragnarok in the Kung Fu Cup. Oh my god, as he does go for an Engineering Bay block here at the natural base. Forces the unnatural natural out of Solar just to make things that much more awkward. And we have a bunker on the high ground. So far, unscouted here. Solar has no idea the first Reaper is zooming across the map as we speak. The bunker is going to finish. The Lynx are distracted by that Engineering Bay. They're not looking for a bunker, because why would you? Specifically on this map, the bunker is within range here of these drones. So, oh god, these drones are heavily under threat. One drone is going to be forced to morph into one of those spores. Second spore as well. We dive up the ramp into the main base, and we're still within range of those drones. Queens do go first round though. The Lings have now dealt with the eBay. I believe that was a cancel. Yes, it was a cancel, not a kill. So the eBay does go down. The bunker is going to be dealt with. We do disrupt the economy here, and up. Oh, we barely get the salvage off with barely a second left. Oh no. The SCV may be able to escape in time. Reaper escorts it a little bit further out as well. And things will return to normalcy here. Solar just regaining control of his bases, saturating them as well. Back across the map, Future is going for a 3cc opener. It is going to be 3cc before Banshee here from Future. Oh boy, but Link speed does kick in. That SCV didn't make it back home. This was a very fast Link speed here from Solar, and he's going to try and dive on top of these Marines. Good starter stepping here from Future, but he's still going to lose both Marines on low ground, and SCV a Mule as well. The Reaper does make it back in time to defend, but against these Speedlings, Reaper is going to have a hard time. Oh, and there it is, a Mule, and SCV goes down. Future regains control of his natural, but not before losing 3 SCVs, a Mule, and 2 Marines. So a good amount of counter damage is done here by Solar. Really important as well, just because, you know, we had a pretty disrupted early game just because of the awkward hatchery and the delayed base and the faster link speed. So Solar did a great job at just maintaining his lead is what I would say here. Future behind this. Oh, okay. It's going to be a 1-1-1 follow-up, of course, but we're not going for an add-on swap. So Future is keeping Solar on his toes. Typically, we would see an add-on swap to go into something like Banshees, for example, but no, we have the Tech Lab on the racks instead. We have a faster stim. Viking is coming out with the arrival of this Viking. Solar, does he see the researching stim? That's the question. No, he does not. So this isn't necessarily a tech lab on a Rax. This could even be a BC opener as well. Solar immediately does go for that lair, a 5-minute lair, considering the early game does make plenty of sense. We have spores being thrown down as well in case a Liberator or even a BC does show up. So Solar is getting ready for, you know, that turn of events. Meanwhile, Marine production is continuing. The downside to the build here of Future is that he has very few Hellions. Even though it was a 1-1 opener, only 2 Hellions were made. We have a prioritization of Marines more than anything. We have the 3 Raxes set up here, and as a result, without Hellions, Future doesn't really have map control. He doesn't really, well, he can't really vie for control of the creep on the low ground. As a result, Solar, he has free range to just spread as much as he wants. The Viking is able to shoo away some of these Overlords, gets 1 Overlord kill from earlier, but that's it so far. Future's having a hard time finding any more damage. He's trying, don't get me wrong. You do see the Overlord in the center of the map. Going to be shoot away as well, but there are plenty of queens in position we can transfuse just to keep it alive if that situation does arise. Third base is being taken. Solar confirms that, make sure that it's not a 2-base all-in, which again, especially considering the Future is the underdog, you know, that is a possibility. Solar doesn't want to get caught with his pants down. We even go for a bit of a landed Viking harass as well, but no, Solar is so quick to respond, so quick to pull his drones away, keep them alive. Ooh, and he slaps the Viking as well. Behind this, the Viking was unable to scout the tech, I believe. Yep, the tech wasn't scouted. The Evo Chambers, the Roach Warren as well. Solar is working towards a pretty big Roach push. Pretty strong 1-1 timing here coming out from Solar. He has good saturation. So far, 3 bases up and running. We have a couple of drones sprinkled into the third, straight into the fourth. But for the most part, we should be focusing on Lings and Roaches. This is going to hit quite hard, and specifically because of the build that Future went for, his tank count is really low. He's got 1 tank and it's on the field, which is dangerous. It's dangerous because that's really the only thing keeping him alive against a Roach push, to be honest, and even 1 tank isn't going to be enough. We have more tanks coming up behind this. Again, the reason why Future's mainly in a lot of trouble is because he doesn't know about what's coming his way, and here we go. The Lings do clean up all the reinforcing Marines. They get into the mineral lines as well. The third base is under threat. The natural, we do see the Marine army pushing on forward, but we run into Roaches, and immediately Future has to evacuate. Oh, but SCVs are already going down across the map. It's still, these Lings still have not been dealt with. Finally, the boys are pulled. 8 workers did go down, and unfortunately, there's not enough room in these medevacs. Some Marines do have to be left behind. They race into the mineral line just to try and find some more damage. And there's nothing here. There's 1 tank on the high ground. The other 2 tanks are still... Oh, God! The other 2 tanks are still in the medevac as well. The third base is under threat. Again, if Future had known about the Roaches, then he would have kept his tanks back at home to begin with. He would have taken a more defensive position. Again, alas, these Roaches were hidden until the last moment, until Future was already across the map. And with this, Solar is looking to bust through the third base, bust into the natural as well. Engineering Bay is going to be going down. The tanks are doing a lot of the back line, which is why, again, imagine if they were here from the beginning. Imagine if they were already in position. If Future had seen ahead of time what was coming his way. Alas, was not meant to be. He's attempting to retake his third base. He's leapfrogging forward with his tanks, don't get me wrong. But the tanks aren't necessarily in range right now, and as a result, yeah, we can see Solar being very careful with his army. Doesn't want to take any tank shots to the face, dancing with the bio and threatening that third. And the third base getting a couple of hits. Ooh, while even connecting in that mirror line as well. Oh my god, a couple of biles even connecting with the Marines at this point, and as a result, Future's in a really rough position. I mean, he's got a 3 base economy now at this point. He was able to preserve his tank count. He just has to try to buy time to stabilize, slowly get a 4th base up and running. It's not impossible, I guess. There's a world where maybe he goes for some drop play, and maybe he's able to kill a mineral line, pull back the army of Solar as well. Like, there are definitely ways to come back, but it's just very difficult. I say very difficult. It's heavily reliant on Solar to make mistakes as well. That's basically what Future is hoping for. He's hoping that Solar you know, messes up. You know, he's out of position, is late to react as well to a drop. The problem is that Solar is getting full map vision. The creep is out of control. It's engulfing the entire map. We have overlords spread out left and right. So any kind of drop play should get scouted. Solar should have plenty of time to respond, plenty of time to react. So going for that kind of, or relying on a doom drop, or relying on your opponents not being able to react in time, is just so difficult in this position. So we can see Future, even though he has all these medevacs, he's going to be staying at home. He's going to be looking to slowly take this fourth base, the center base as well. Oh boy. As Solar has maxed out, Lingbane at Roach Ravager, the army composition is insane. Upgrades are kicking in at 2-2 on the horizon. +2 carapace just finished up. As Solar, he's done with Roach Ravager. He's morphing as many of his Roaches into Ravagers, and he's focusing on Lingbane production. He's getting into melee upgrades instead of range upgrades. This is really smart of Solar. If he had stayed on a Roach Ravager composition, it's very inefficient. It doesn't scale too well as the game goes on. So Future would have had a chance. He would have had definitely a chance at just trading efficiently, and maybe Solar continues to be stubborn and remaxes on Roach Ravager. Alas, that is not meant to be. As Solar rotates around towards the south instead, he's looking for an opening. He's looking for a vulnerable position here. There's only one tank in range, and the Banelings, they can just roll into the base itself. The base is going to get lifted. The SCVs are going to be saved. We do have a good spread here for Future. Not a bad fight. Problem becomes... oh no, those SCVs are looking quite exposed. Look at the SCVs! No, get them out of there! Ah! The friendly fire. The tank shots. Oh, as the Biles actually missed. The Biles actually landed on the high ground, on the pillar. But 16 SCVs did go down. So even though that was an efficient trade, the problem is the bank. The bank is what is terrifying right now. Like, Solar has so much. He has 3k minerals, 1k gas. He can afford to remake, he can afford to remax. Future is here on the back foot. Oh god, as we do have the Blinding Clouds covering two of these tanks, the Lingbane can roll on forward even further. Only one tank goes down to the Biles, the Planetary does survive. And Future just has to do this a couple more times. Again, he's stuck at home until he maxes out. And once he does max out, he needs to make sure he has good enough upgrades. We have 3-1 on the way. Sorry, 3-2 on the way. Once we get into 3-3, then Future has to hope that Solar takes a bad fight. We need basically what we just saw. We need Solar to push into one of these bases, either the Planetary or the Orbital. And if he loses too many resources, then Future can then counterattack. Solar, though, is taking up. We have a massive Doom drop being set up to go into the main base. We have our Hive, Ultra Cavern, Spire. We should be headed towards a Greater Spire, just so we have all the tech pods available here for Solar. Needs to open them up. And here we go. The Overlords are headed straight into that main base. Lightning Cloud's going to be helping out as well as the first tank. Can't really do much of anything. The Banelings, they roll into the mineral line. The entire SCV line's going to be going down. At the same time, we have the Doom drop into the main. Future is being pulled apart. The last thing he was expecting was an attack in his own main base. Cancel on a CC. Some of the production's under threat. The army is being pulled back home. Again, Future is being spread far too thin. We even get a surround on the Ghost Academy. We could get it. Ghost Academy could go down, but there we go. Things do get cleaned up. Vikings is going to be shooing away these Dropalords, actually. Interesting choice. But as Future regains control of his main base, his forward base is still under threat. The Lingbane rolls back in once again. There's not much to protect the tanks. The tanks are left exposed. And Solar can just trading so damn well, crippling the economy, crippling the army here of Future. He's out to 43 SCVs, and he was doing a decent job at recovering. He was able to take a fourth, max, or almost max out. But alas, The Banelings even connect with a Ghost. GG gets called, and Solar will take game number 1. GG. Well played. Oh. Yeah, Solar coming in hot with a 1-1 roach timing again, just to wind it all back. Future had no idea. Future did not know that the roach horn was slowing down. He didn't see the roaches at all until they were in his space. Sorry, in his face and in his space. And yeah, as a result, he was out of position. His tanks were on the map, if you remember. His army was on the map as well. He wasn't ready for that 1-1 roach timing, and yeah, Solar crippled Future then and there. From that moment, from that point, Future was trying to bounce back, of course. He was trying to claw his way back in, but alas, it was really difficult. A really difficult position to come back from. Very difficult indeed. But now, we're diving into game number 2. Let us go. And this morning, in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the American Terran player representing Macherino Esports. Currently down in this series, but not out. It is Future. And this morning, in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming, currently up 1-0 in this best-of-3 series. It is Solar. And Solar once again is going to be going for a pool first opener. We have the eBay block here on the low grounds. And yeah, I mean, again, Future, this is something that he's been doing every single game. He has been going for these eBay blocks against Zerg players. He's been finding some middling success with it. But Solar, he is responding with a pool first. With this, he'll have faster links out. Boys are being pulled, though. Solar being forced into a really awkward position. This is actually doing quite a lot of economic damage. He's an animal. Gas is being taken as well as Future throws down a second eBay just to be that much more annoying. Oh my god. I mean, look, it makes sense. Oh god, we do get the cancel off in time. Lings are on the way, and we should hopefully get another cancel on the second eBay. Solar desperately just wants to expand, and there it is. Expansion is thrown down. As we have Future going for a CC on the high ground, which makes plenty of sense, definitely. Wants to make sure that these Lings don't force a cancel onto the CC, so Future, not being too greedy, is going to be taking this very seriously. He's aware of how aggressive Solar can be, especially with this faster gas. We can see immediately the gas geyser is saturated. We're not pulling out or anything like that. Solar will have a much faster link speed and could once again go into fast roaches. Speaking of, roaches are not quite on the way yet. We do pull out a gas immediately here. We're only going to be focusing on 100 gas for link speed and pulling out from there. Boy. And Solar just goes straight into his third base from here as well. Just because the third was heavily delayed, makes sense for him to rush into that as quickly as possible. And things are going to be settling down from this point. Really, my eyes are on Future, as he's going for a 1-1-1 opener here. He's going for a delayed third CC. And what's he going to do with this? Oh my god, this looks like a tank drop. This looks like a very early tank push with Vanilla Marines. Very aggressive stuff coming out from Future. Now, will this get scouted? We have an Overlord outside the natural, but it hasn't gone in yet, and if it does try to, we have plenty of Marines to stop it. Viking on the way as well, just to keep this hidden. So this is yeah, this is gonna be very scary here. Obviously, when the Viking reveals itself, Solar should be aware that it's a 1-1-1, that it's not a 3cc opener. Just because otherwise the Viking would be delayed. Meanwhile, we're going for the add-on swap here, and yeah, the first tank has arrived. I should have also said that because it's a Viking and not a medevac, it's not a tank drop. It's just very safe. Insanely safe. Future doesn't want he doesn't want to get roached. Now, from the 1-1-1, we're throwing down 2 more Raxes. So initially I assumed that Future was going to be aggressive, and I still think so. I still believe that is the case, as this is looking like a 2-base all-in. The 3rd CC of Future is heavily delayed. We should have a 3rd by this point. We have 1 NG Bay as well for +1 attack. We'll keep our eye on the production tab here. We'll see if Future does go for a 3rd CC. If I recall correctly, have we seen Future go for a fake 3rd? I want to say that's possible, as it's going for another add-on swap. Stim on the horizon. There we go. It looks like tank production will be continuing. Back at home, Solar is none the wiser. The Viking is trying to hunt down Overlords and keep Solar in the dark. Solar's been able to join up quite happily here to 51. Honestly, Solar is free to drone up to around 66. 3-base saturation. He should be content to go up towards that point. No lair. We have a prioritization of 1-1 instead. Interesting. So, I don't know how I feel about this. So because we got these Evo chambers first, we're prioritizing the upgrades. So the pure Ling of Solar is going to actually be really robust. It's going to actually do quite well for himself. But he won't have Banelings. No lair, no Baneling Nest, no Baneling Speed. I'm sure eventually we're going to work towards these things. I'm sure Solar will eventually get a Baneling Nest. But it's not going to be ready in time for this push. Speaking of push, Solar, these queens, they're on a mission. Up! Oh my god. They almost catch the Viking. Army's moving out, Baneling Nest is thrown down, and we may have Banelings in time for the push, but again, speed, no way. There's no shot that speed is going to be done for this, and here we go, the Viking is landed, the army is coming. We do have another tank behind this, Stim is done, +1 is going to kick in the midst of this push. It's a very potent timing here from Future. Solar is trying to catch some reinforcements, but no Future, he doesn't allow any to get caught. Now we have to be very careful with how and when we use these stims. Lings, they try to go first round. They do come from behind as well. The first tank is going to fall. Can we save the second tank? Oh, we're trying to. But last, these Lings will clean this up. We didn't even need 1-1. Solar was able to drone up well enough to actually execute this. And Future is forced back. And that is the main brunt of Future. And he's all in. Like, there's no 3rd. There's no transition. There's no other way about this. Sure, we have a couple more upgrades are about to kick in, and sure, we have 1 more tank, but we just threw away 2 tanks, and that was the backbone of Future's army. That was all he had. Now he's down to 1. He still has a couple of Marines. There is still a window before Baneling Speed kicks in. This Baneling Speed is almost halfway done. But we need more damage. Tank on the high ground. Lings are in position. Well, Ling's actually going for a counterattack. We're going to be able to chip away at these queens, but Solar once again goes for the surround. He gets on top of the tank. He gets on top of the Marines. Ooh. Again, Solar has so much momentum. He's going to be able to chase down all of these reinforcements as well. The first push of Future was the strongest, and unfortunately, it just barely wasn't enough. Solar's positioning, his surround was too good, and yeah, Future just doesn't really have a way out from here. He's got Liberators on the way. He's got more tanks. He's throwing down 2 more Raxes and a 3rd CC. It's an 8-minute 3rd against the 5 bases of Solar. I mean, at the end of the day, like, Future, he's got to do something. He needs to try to come back in some way, shape, or form, and, you know, trying to recover economically is going to be his answer here. Tanks do siege up here on the high ground. Liberator's going to help protect them at least. But we have bathing speed. We have speed, Poppy. Solar, he eclipses Future in the supply. He's coming in from behind as well. Good moment here for Future, as the bathings don't really find too many connections. The Marines do survive, but there's no way out. Once again, another surround, and once again, Future has to go back home. I feel like Solar doesn't have to turn around. He can keep on pushing. He can even head towards the bases as well. He is running out of some banelings, but... oh no, the wall is not a wall. The tank is looking a little bit exposed. Nice hold position. Nice siege on that tank. Oh, but the wall is broken. Solar breaks in. GG gets called, and Solar will take the series 2-0. GG, well played. Oh, GG, well played. Congratulations to Solar for taking the series 2-0, taking down Future and advancing on. But a shout to Future. He had some really interesting builds. This is why I love casting Future recently. Like, he's very quirky and very creative with a lot of his builds, especially in ZvT, with the eBay blocks, with the 2-base soul. Like, 2-base soul-ins are so rare in TVZ. We don't get to see them often enough. So I definitely appreciate what we just witnessed. Of course, Solar is still a pretty terrifying player. He responded beautifully and he shut it down. Again, game 1 was a shame. I feel like game 1 would have been very different if Future had just seen the Roach Warren, if he had just figured out that Solar wasn't playing Lingbane, that he was being a little more committed, a little more aggressive. I do believe that we would have had a different outcome. A different game, at least. Different game. GG. GG, well played, as we are getting ready for our next series.